Diana Taurasi sat in front of a camera and said the words nobody thought she'd ever say about Caitlin Clark. And she said them on live TV. This is the same woman who looked into a microphone before Caitlin Clark even played her first WNBA game and said, "Reality is coming," like she was some kind of gatekeeper deciding who belonged. So what changed? 7 days in Puerto Rico, 14 broken FIBA world records, and a number 12 jersey that used to belong to Taurasi sitting on Clark's back while she ran the entire tournament. And now Taurasi is sitting on camera being asked what she thinks, and she can't hide anymore. Let me know down in the comments below if you think Taurasi is Caitlin's biggest doubter, or is there someone else?
Caitlin Clark was wearing number 12 for Team USA during the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament. Obviously, we know that that number is very tied to you. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I mean, it's so cool, to see Caitlin not only wear the USA jersey, but number 12. I just spent I spent 2 decades wearing that jersey and that number.
Before Clark played a single WNBA minute, Diana Taurasi walked up to a microphone and basically gave the whole league permission to doubt her. Let's talk about what that actually did, because it wasn't small.
What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're gonna see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're gonna come with some grown women that've been playing professional basketball for a long time.
It was 2024 March Madness. Clark was still at Iowa, still in college, still breaking records. And Taurasi looked into a camera and said, "Reality is coming for Clark. There's levels to this thing." That's it, that's the quote. And it hit hard because of who was saying it. This wasn't some random player with a hot take. Taurasi was the face of USA basketball for 20 years, 6 Olympic gold medals, the most decorated player in the history of the program. When she talked, the league didn't just listen, it took notes. So the effect was immediate. Other veterans started piling on right after. The "she's not ready" narrative started spreading fast. And here's where it gets interesting. It wasn't just opposing players feeding that story. Gino Auriemma, Taurasi's own college coach at UConn, started publicly questioning whether Clark could handle the physical side of the pro game.
I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. And she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. So there's a lot of learning curve, like Diana said. And when she gets it, she has elite skills that are going to really help her.
Yeah,
but she needs to be on a better team, and she needs to be more experienced. And that will come. But for these ridiculous fans who had her slotted as the next Diana down, they're out of their mind. And
think about that. The coaching legend who just coached against Clark in college is now out here planting seeds of doubt about her own future opponent's ability to survive in the WNBA. When a rival coach is saying that, and Taurasi is leading the charge from the outside, that's not random skepticism. That's a wall going up, brick by brick. Now, to be fair to Taurasi, and this is the part nobody really talks about, she probably believed every word she said. She had watched hyped college players come into the league and disappear for years. From her spot, skepticism wasn't hate, it was experience. She even said later that she didn't think she said anything factually incorrect because greatness translates at every level, and she expected Clark to adjust. That's how she framed it. Tough love, basically.
The Fever they've been killing it without Caitlin, and when she does come back, do you feel like they're going to be able to make that run in the playoffs?
I would not want to play the Indiana Fever in the playoffs, especially with a healthy Caitlin. I mean, that building, I got a little taste of it last year. And doing the Final Four, shows when she's on the court, when someone can really change the game in a couple moments like she can. She could be quiet for 10 minutes and then pop, pop, pop. It's 4 threes and the game's out of reach. And I think what the Fever are doing without her, that's going to help them in the future too, knowing that they can win a game when she's not on the court or she's not, at her best. So yeah, that Fever team, I would not want to play them with a healthy Caitlin.
But here's the thing, it didn't land that way. What it did was give other players social cover to be openly cold toward Clark. The hard "welcome to the league" fouls started showing up. Officials weren't protecting her early, and all of it traces back to a culture where the top player had already signaled that Clark needed to be humbled first. Rookies earn their spot slowly in the WNBA. That's just how it worked. But Clark wasn't coming in slowly. She came in with more college records, more TV ratings, and more sponsorship deals than anyone the league had ever seen. That threatened the pecking order in a real way. And the same woman who set that tone spent 2 decades wearing the number 12 jersey for Team USA. Someone just handed that jersey to Caitlin Clark.
I think you've also gotten some criticism because you did say that Caitlin Clark, should have been on the Olympic team, and I don't disagree with you for saying that. I just wondered who you think whose spot she should have taken.
The process itself was a mess. Where people were saying one thing, she wasn't playing well, and then you got Dawn Staley, who was on the committee, saying she was playing, head and shoulders above everybody else. If we'd known then what we know now, well, the night that I broke the news that Caitlin Clark was not going to be on the Olympic team, June 7th of 2024, she'd had 30 points and 7 threes against Washington. Now, granted, that decision would have already been made, right? If I was able to, someone read me the list a few hours later. But Caitlin Clark was playing great. By that point, her statistics were much better than Diana Taurasi, so I'll pick Diana Taurasi.
The United States Olympic Committee sent a 42-year-old player to Paris who averaged less than 4 minutes a game and left Caitlin Clark at home. Let's talk about what that actually cost. Taurasi made the squad as a veteran presence, a symbolic farewell for the greatest player in USA basketball history. That was the stated reasoning. Experience, leadership, what she means to the program. Clark didn't make it. This is after Clark just finished the most-watched rookie season in WNBA history. She dragged Indiana Fever viewership to record levels. She became the fastest player in league history to sink 100 three-pointers. She led the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016, and she was watching Paris from home.
42 years old, basically given a spot, of course, did not play. In fact, it led to a great line for me in the book, cynical line for sure, but Diana Taurasi and Caitlin Clark both played the same number of minutes and scored the same number of points in the gold medal game against France, which was a ragged 1-point victory. And of course, 0 points and 0 minutes played. Diana Taurasi was on the bench in Paris, and Caitlin Clark was 4,000 miles away in the United States.
Taurasi's numbers in Paris were almost non-existent. She was a ceremonial inclusion, a living trophy on the bench. She averaged less than 4 minutes per game across the entire tournament. 4 minutes. Meanwhile, Clark was in the middle of a season where she was one of the most statistically impactful guards in the entire league. The gap between what Taurasi contributed in Paris and what Clark was doing that same summer is not close. So this wasn't really about one roster spot. It was a statement about whose era it still was, or who USA basketball wanted it to be. The old hierarchy was still running things. Veterans first, proven loyalty to the system first, generational talent second. And the people making those calls were the same coaching staff that would later struggle to figure out how to use Clark properly in Puerto Rico.
She's cynical and acerbic. I personally would not treat a 22-year-old the way she did. I mentor many hundreds of, over the years, 22-year-olds and younger. I would never be as, mean-spirited, kick him in the shins as she was with Caitlin Clark. But I mean, it's a free country. She can do that. When she said reality's coming and kind of laughed like, yeah, well, as we now know, reality was coming, as Diana said for her on that one. But that's okay. I mean, that's not, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, Diana Taurasi was given a spot to get a going away present. Let's just be honest.
The public reaction at the time was loud. Fans were frustrated. Media kept circling back to Clark's absence. Her shadow was at those Paris games even when she wasn't there. Team USA still drew strong viewership numbers, but the conversation never really moved off the question of why Clark wasn't on that roster. Now the easy argument is, Team USA won gold in Paris, so the system worked. And sure, in the short term, it did. But winning gold with a roster built around veterans while your most exciting young player sits at home is a short-term win with a long-term cost. The rest of the world was catching up fast, and USA basketball needed to start building around its future. Delaying that by a full year just handed critics a ready-made narrative. that the program was protecting its veterans at the expense of what came next.
Caitlin Clark, that team, as you guys know, needed a real spark, like in the third quarter, right? And Kelsey Plum and Sabrina Ionescu, kind of came in and helped out. Sure, Caitlin Clark, a couple threes at that moment would have been absolutely a real boon and a real positive development for that team. But of course, Caitlin Clark wasn't there. And the eyeballs, oh my gosh, the reach. I had journalists, you guys, a woman from Brazil, a journalist from Brazil came running up to me. Where's Caitlin Clark? Why isn't she here? I was going to cover all the games. Now I'm not going to, because Caitlin Clark is such a fascinating figure in Brazil.
Because when Clark finally got on that court in Puerto Rico, what she did in her first 19 minutes of international basketball was something nobody on that Paris roster had done in years. She didn't ease in, she didn't take time to adjust. She just played, and the record started falling immediately. Diana Taurasi wore the number 12 jersey for Team USA for over 20 years. 6 Olympic gold medals, multiple World Cup runs. That number was hers. And then somebody handed it to Caitlin Clark.
I couldn't think of anyone better to take it and put it on and just have an amazing career. And Caitlin will do that. She had a great qualifiers down in Puerto Rico. It's just going to be fun to watch her play. And the summer in Germany and then the Olympics. No one better to wear the 12, and Caitlin's going to put some gold medals on that jersey. I know it.
Let's talk about what that actually means. The number 12 jersey isn't just a number you get assigned. Taurasi built her entire international identity around it. She wore it from 2004 all the way through the 2024 Paris Olympics. So when Clark got assigned number 12 for the Puerto Rico qualifiers, that wasn't random. That's a statement about who comes next. Now picture this from Taurasi's perspective. This is the same player she called out before her first WNBA game. The same player she questioned publicly. And by the time Puerto Rico happened, Clark had already swept Taurasi 4 times during the 2024 WNBA season, including the All-Star game. So the player she doubted was now wearing her number on the international stage. That's a lot to sit with.
There, like you said, 20+ seasons is incredible within itself. Here you go, pushing the pace after a made bucket has been Christie's side's ammo. I think they're a young team who wants to get out and run.
Here's the wild part. Because across those 4 matchups in 2024, something was shifting in how Taurasi was carrying herself around Clark. It wasn't a clean villain arc. Taurasi was watching Clark up close game after game, and you could see her processing it. The body language changed. The comments started softening. This wasn't someone doubling down. It was someone paying attention. And then Puerto Rico happened. Clark goes out there and breaks 14 FIBA world records in 7 days. Wins MVP. Runs the offense at a level nobody expected that fast. And Taurasi gets asked about it on camera. She didn't deflect, she didn't throw in a but or a however. She told Sports Illustrated directly, "I couldn't think of anyone better to take it and put it on and just have an amazing career. And Caitlin will do that." She also said Clark is gonna put gold medals on that jersey. That's not a grudging acknowledgement, that's a full endorsement.
Congrats on your retirement, D.
Thank you.
And congrats
now,
you.
Unfortunately, reality is coming to me now.
What's your big plans? What are you going to do?
You know, I keep telling Sue I thought I was going to have all this time to do all these things. I'm more busy now. So if I give you any advice, play as long as possible.
We'll see. We'll get to 10 years. Then we'll think about it.
10 years.
And on the show Taurasi co-hosts with Sue Bird, when Clark came on as a guest, Taurasi said, "Reality came to her." Think about that for a second. "Reality is coming" was the warning she fired before Clark played a single pro minute. "Reality came to her" is her flipping her own words back on herself. That's as close as you're going to get to someone saying they were wrong without actually saying it. And it landed because it came from her. What changed Taurasi wasn't the records or the MVP trophy. She's a basketball purist. She respects the game above everything else. And when she saw Clark running that offense, the reads, the pace, the decision-making, she recognized it. Sue Bird's influence has also been mentioned around the jersey decision, and whether that's true or not, the image is the same.
Do you know if that was random, or did you maybe talk to Sue and have any hand in making that happen?
You know, I stay, once I'm out of things, I'm out. Maybe Sue, you know, she's a little bit more calculated than people think, so maybe that was a Sue job.
14 FIBA world records in 7 days sounds like a marketing line. So let's go game by game, because the actual numbers are more specific and more ridiculous than the headline. First, the context. Clark hadn't played competitive basketball in 8 months coming into this tournament. Injuries kept her out for most of the 2025 WNBA season. She showed up in Puerto Rico as the most anticipated debut in recent USA basketball history and came off the bench for Game 1.
5 players at a time.
Hockey subs.
Hockey subs.
Kelsey Plum with her first. Caitlin Clark on the move, over to Billings. Billings on the left-hand side, off the glass, and how dangerous is Team USA?
Game 1 was against Senegal. 19 minutes, 17 points, 12 assists, 0 turnovers. 8 of those assists came in the first half alone. She broke 5 individual FIBA records in that single game. Most assists in a Team USA senior national team debut, most assists in any senior national team debut across all countries, most assists by any bench player in FIBA history, and the highest first-half assist total in any FIBA qualifying game ever played. Off the bench, first international game of her career, after 8 months away from competitive basketball. Game 2 against Puerto Rico is where it gets interesting. Puerto Rico ran a box-and-one defense specifically designed to keep the ball out of Clark's hands. The entire defensive game plan was built around one player. And instead of leaning into that and finding ways to free her up, the coaching response was to limit her minutes and run a lineup that stalled the offense badly. Clark herself called it clunky. Team USA won, but it looked nothing like Game 1.
Being patient, find the right shot.
Caitlin Clark's got the ball, over to Beckers. Beckers sets up the 3, and it's nothing but net.
Then came the pivot. Game 3 against New Zealand, and the coaching situation shifted. The new approach was to start Clark alongside Paige Beckers and Kelsey Plum in a 3-guard lineup. USA won by 55 points. Clark led the team in minutes, posted 14 points and 6 assists, and her plus-minus showed exactly how different the offense looked when she was running it. Game 4 against Italy, same system, same result. Clark logged 22 minutes, put up 12 points and 5 assists, and USA won by 34. The coaching staff acknowledged publicly after this game that the previous approach had been a mistake. That's on the record. Game 5 against Spain was the closest game of the tournament. Clark started, played 22 minutes, finished with 7 points and 7 assists, and Team USA closed it out undefeated. Final ledger across all 5 games, she led the entire tournament field in plus-minus and efficiency. Not just Team USA, the whole tournament. She led Team USA in minutes, points, assists, free throws made and attempted, and 2-point field goal percentage. And she was named MVP, the youngest in FIBA qualifying tournament history. The records weren't some happy accident. Once the offense was built around her, they were inevitable. 14 records in 7 days, and Taurasi was watching every single one of them.
MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut with the senior team was a double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO MVP at the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament here in Puerto Rico.
So let's just lay out the full arc here, because it's worth saying out loud. Taurasi calls Clark out before she plays a single pro game. Clark spends her entire rookie year proving her wrong in the WNBA. She gets left off the Olympic team anyway. Then she shows up in Puerto Rico after 8 months away from basketball and breaks 14 world records in 7 days, wins MVP at 24. And the woman who started all of it ends up on camera saying, reality came to her. That's not a redemption arc for Clark. Clark never needed one. That's a redemption arc for every single person who doubted her. And here's what stands out about how Clark carried herself through all of this. After the Puerto Rico game against the host nation, when most players would have just taken the win and moved on, Clark called the performance clunky. She pointed out that too many fouls were slowing down their transition game. She wasn't celebrating. She was already thinking about what needed to be fixed. That's not someone chasing records or proving a point.
I've always been a person that's gonna just rely on my work. Like, I feel like it's certainly made me work harder, but that's also probably the part that kind of stunk about it, is I felt like I put in so much time and so much energy going into last season, and then obviously I only appeared in about 13 games, and some of those probably wasn't as healthy as I probably should have been. So I think just relying on that. I think for me, like, obviously I didn't have, like, it's not like I, hurt my knee or, was in, like, tore my Achilles or something like that. Obviously, knock on wood, it was kind of these nagging injuries that continued to build up and dealt with one on top of the other. And
that's someone who just wants to win and holds herself to a standard that doesn't care how many records she just broke. That matters because there's been a version of this story where Clark becomes about the circus around her, the haters, the drama, the jersey, the snubs. And she just keeps refusing to be that story. She shows up, plays basketball, calls the team clunky when they are, and then goes and wins MVP anyway.
The first feeling going to be like suiting up for the senior national team?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Like, as a kid, this is what you grow up watching. So obviously I've watched a lot of really great players, and now I think it's kind of like going to be a pinch me moment. Like, this is kind of what you dream of. And obviously, as being somebody that's played for 3 junior national teams, not many kids that had that opportunity get this opportunity, so just super grateful.
Now let's talk about where this goes, because the Clark and Paige Bueckers backcourt is real. The 3-guard system that Tibbetts ran in Puerto Rico works. Those 55-point and 34-point wins weren't flukes. They were what happens when you stop managing Clark and just let her play. So if you're not already thinking about what Team USA looks like at the 2026 World Cup in Berlin, with a healthy Clark running that offense for a full tournament, start thinking about it right now, because Puerto Rico was 5 games. Berlin is a full World Cup, and she's only going to get more comfortable in that system. The rest of the world should be paying attention too, because the gap that USA basketball has always had at the international level gets even wider when Clark is the one running the offense. Other countries were already building box and one defenses just to slow her down in a qualifying tournament. Picture what they're drawing up for Berlin right now.
Just remind myself who I am and what I've been, and I didn't lose that, so just continue to do that.
And look, if Diana Taurasi, the most decorated player in USA basketball history, the woman who fired the first shot before Clark even laced up her pro shoes, is now on camera saying she couldn't think of anyone better to wear that number 12 jersey, then the rest of the doubters need to get in line. Because if that's where Taurasi landed after watching Clark play, there's no argument left. The future of Team USA is Caitlin Clark. The future of the WNBA is the Indiana Fever. That's just where this is going. Do you think Taurasi's reality is coming actually helped Clark? Because there's a real argument that having the greatest USA basketball player in history as your first doubter, and then turning her into your biggest validator, is the best origin story women's basketball has ever seen. Getting doubted by the greatest, then making the greatest admit she was wrong. That's a different kind of legacy. Let me know down in the comments below if you think Taurasi is Caitlin's biggest doubter, or is there someone else? Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.